know what episode this is because we're recording this on a random day, but I am here, joined in the flesh on Zoom by a good friend of mine who was it today that this new official title was bestowed upon you?
Yes, it was.
Just
today. Just today.
Monday, May 9th, a day which will live in infamy. I have Jenn Brandt here, who is the master blender for Luca Mariano Distillery, the new master blender. And are you officially the first master blender?
Yeah, the first master blender.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So, what's up, Jenn? How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I was gonna come
great.
home and celebrate and drink some whiskey, and then you're like, "Want to do a podcast?"
Well, I wanted to have the first scoop because I saw you post on Instagram. So I texted you, obviously congratulations.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
then I was like, you're welcome. And then I was like, I don't have anything to do tonight. Let's just do a podcast because I haven't had a guest on in a while. And I figured, you know what? When you were on Bourbon with Friends, it was fun. So let's see what happens this time.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
That is some sick merch you got on, by the way.
Yeah, I got it from Bonfire. Who gives a Dram crew neck?
Yeah, that is a nice sweatshirt. If you guys want some sick Who Gives a Dram merch that Jenn is wearing right now and more, check out the link in my Instagram bio. You can find it there. But anyways, this isn't about me. This is about you, Jenn. So, Jenn, tell people who you are and tell people what you do. And then I'm going to pour whiskey while you do that.
Okay. Yeah, I am the now master blender for Luca Mariano Distillery. I was the marketing director and single barrel coordinator before today. And I mean, I travel and I drink whiskey, and now I get to blend our small batch bourbon and rye, which is a lot of fun. I am doing my first small batch in just a couple of weeks. I'm going to go down to Kentucky this weekend, May 13th, and taste some barrels and pick out the 5 that we'll use for our small batch bourbon. And it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I've been training on this low key since January. And now
super low key because I didn't even know about it. I don't think anyone knew about it.
No one knew about it.
Was it difficult to keep that secret?
Yeah, I would say Kenny let it slip more so than I did. Because we would do podcasts or we'd be out in the market, going around with our distributors in different states, and he would be like, "Oh, Jenn blends all of our small batches, she's getting ready to start doing that." I'm like, I'm not supposed to.
You weren't supposed to say anything. Come on, Kenny. Shout out Kenny, by the way. He's a if you guys haven't listened to Jenn and Kenny on Bourbon with Friends, what was it, probably a month, maybe a few weeks ago, I don't know.
No,
but they were on
a month ago.
It seems like it was a shorter amount of time. I don't know how far ago that seems like, but if you haven't checked it out, go check it out because I gotta be honest, I haven't listened to the whole episode since it's been released because it's an hour and a half, but I was there recording it, so I remember what happened. And let me tell you, the conversations that were happening on that podcast, from the best of my recollection, probably shouldn't have been said. There are things that were said that should not have been said, but
there was OnlyFans, Tinder. We went all over.
There's a lot of things that, again, probably would get us canceled in 5 or 6 countries, smaller countries across the world. But tell us a little bit about Luca Mariano. I haven't done Luca Mariano on Who Gives a Dram yet because I just haven't, but I have so many bottles that you have sent me. Thank you. I have 10 bottles. But tell the people a little bit about Luca Mariano and the story behind the distillery and what you guys are doing.
Yeah, so Luca Mariano got started out of happenstance. It was never meant to be a full-on business. Our owner, Francesco, in 2010 was distilling in his garage with his grandfather's still that Mariano, who's his grandfather, left him when he passed away. And he had some friends over, they were smoking meat, and then all of a sudden one of his friends was like, hey, this is illegal to do in your garage. And Francesco, being the Italian that he is, was like, what are you talking about? No, it's not. And so he called his company attorney and asked him, and his attorney was like, yeah, it's illegal and it's unsafe. Like, you could blow your house up. You got to stop. And Francesco was like, well, I'm not going to stop. So find a way to make it legal. So Matt applied for our federal basic distiller's permit, and we got it December 31st of 2013. And we started putting barrels away towards the end of 2014, beginning of 2015. So now we sit with a newly 7-year-old single barrel bourbon and single barrel rye. And we have a 5-year, 5-barrel small batch bourbon and rye, as well as our once a year release for the anniversary of Prohibition. And we're having our ribbon cutting on our rick house this weekend in June. No one knows this yet, but we're coming out with another special release. It is a single barrel rye. It's going to be 97 proof. It's our Gianna Loren line, named after the owner's daughter. And it's a low rye whiskey.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's breaking
You're getting
news.
all the scoop. Yeah, you're getting all the scoop
wow.
tonight.
I didn't know this. Like me and Jen literally were like, hey, I texted Jen. I was like, hey, be ready in an hour. And she's like, got to give me an hour and a half. And I was like, all right. That was literally how this podcast happened. So I didn't know I was getting all these juicy scoops. Yeah. So he goes from distilling in his garage, right? Mm-hmm. How do you get enough to like put away barrels in 2014? Is he just distilling that much, or is it gradually growing from his garage to other places?
So after we got our license to distill, we started looking for property. And that's when Dan the landman, also Dan Campbell's his actual name, who our first rick house is named after. All of our rick houses are going to be named after someone like influential in our company history and how we got to where we are. Mm-hmm. So he started looking for property in Kentucky. Francesco went all around. He looked at property in Bardstown, Lexington, Louisville, and then Dan fell in love with the property in Danville. And so he saved that one for last to show Francesco. And there's a lot of history behind our property. And ultimately, Francesco fell in love with it. And so now we have a 600-acre farm for a property for a distillery. And we just gradually started putting barrels away. Our first year, we put away like 200 barrels. And this year, we're putting away 3,500 barrels.
That's just impressive, though. Like you put away 200 barrels, and it's going just like it's almost like it's a hobby, but you're putting away 200 plus barrels in a year. That's impressive. That's like a lot in a little bit of time. Yeah. To go from just distilling in your garage and now we got to like store and age barrels in Kentucky. Yeah. So you have this property in Danville. What's the timeline on that? When does that officially be a thing? So our also breaking news. It wasn't going to be told till this weekend, but this podcast is coming out after the ribbon cutting this weekend. It's true. Yeah, it is true. It's coming out after, so it's fine. Our distillery and our rick house will probably have about 3 rick houses by then. But we will be breaking ground here within 8 weeks on our distillery operation facility. And it will be up and running by September 23rd of 2023. Wow. So that's going to be the fully operational distillery, the Luca Mariano Distillery. With a 36-inch column still, 4 stories high. Yeah. Wow. Real deal. Real deal. Oh, yeah. The real deal. Wow. By the time it's all said and done, we will have 3 36-inch column stills. And our output will be around 50,000 barrels a year. So wow, going from 200 barrels not even 10 years ago to 10 to that's like mind blowing. Yeah, that's really good. What drew you to Luca Mariano? Like, why is someone why do you want to, what made you want to get into whiskey, and then what made you want to be like, oh, I want to get into the craft side of it, with a brand that, maybe not so many people know about, because now you're the master blender. So
yeah, it's been a wild 3 years. I started with the company back in January of 2019. That kind of all just happened. When I started with the company, I couldn't stand bourbon, like hated the smell, taste, everything of it, and rye whiskey too. And then I got hired by a whiskey company, and I had to teach myself how to like it and enjoy it to actually be able to sell it. So I started with them as a marketing staff. I was in my senior year of college. I wasn't going to work, really basic. I was going to take my senior year off and just enjoy life. And then I got a message on LinkedIn by a recruiting company. I was like, okay, like, yeah, I'll do a phone interview. Like, it'll be good practice for when I graduate and I actually need to start looking. So I did the phone interview with them on a Friday, and then they reported to Francesco on Monday, and they called me Monday afternoon. I was at the mall shopping, and they're like, can you be in Plymouth in 20 minutes? I was like, I can be there in 20 minutes, but like, I just got done working out. I'm at the mall now. Like, I'm not business professional, like, attire right now. Like, he's going to have to deal with what I'm wearing. And they're like, okay, that's no problem. Like, he understands it's super last minute, but he wants to see you because he's leaving for Toronto tomorrow. And I was like, okay, that's no problem. Like, I can be there. So I go there. I had to use his computer to print my resume for him because I didn't have any on me. And I had a 2.5 hour interview with him in person. I got hired on the spot. And I started off just as marketing staff part-time. I graduated, and the week before I graduated is when we released our first product, our small batch bourbon. And at that point, it was a 6-year, 83 proof small batch. We had our launch week, tons of parties, and then I graduated. And a week later, I went to Italy for 3 weeks for a graduation trip. And I came back, and he bumped me up to marketing manager. That was in June. December, I was marketing director. And then the single barrel program got tossed in my lap last year. And then now I'm the master blender.
That's so funny to say. You're the master blender.
It's crazy. It's like my first time like saying it. I got my business cards today, and I was like, wait a minute, this isn't my cards. Like, it doesn't say marketing director. They're
the
like,
business cards look good, by the way.
These are your like new ones. You gotta start handing these ones out. I was like, oh, okay.
So are you still going to go store to store and sell cases and all that stuff, or is that beneath you now?
I will still go store to store and sell cases. It's not beneath me. I
mean, man, master blender. Yeah. You're up there with the big boys now.
I know.
All the master blenders out there. That's crazy to me.
It's not going to be like a day-to-day thing where I go do it. It's like, so next week I'm going to be in Florida going around with our distributor and their sales reps, and we're having a bunch of different events too, but like during the day we'll go to stores. I have one store that actually wants to do a barrel pick tasting in person, so I'm going to go do that with them, and then we're just going to hit up stores and get some case sales. And then I have an event with the Jacksonville Bourbon and Whiskey Society. I'm doing a YouTube with whiskey in a hammock, and then I have a barrel pick tasting that Total Wine did.
Okay, so you're basically going to be used when they need a celebrity appearance.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. Well, I'm happy for you.
Like, I'll travel to all the different states and do that. And Kenny, he's like, it's a lot different, like having the creative director in the car versus having the master blender in the car with these people going around. Like, it's gonna hit home a lot more. I was like, okay. I was like, I'll travel, no problem. Hank might hate it, but Hank can deal.
Hank can deal. Hank's dealing right now, so he's good.
Yeah.
What's like the day to day gonna look for you now then?
Tasting a lot of barrels.
Okay.
I actually have 18 barrels arriving to work tomorrow that I gotta go through and sample. I have to select which of those barrels will be used for 103 bourbon and rye, what will be used for barrel strength barrel picks, and then I'll get those like separated out. We're gonna do some bottling for single barrel bourbon this week, and then next week, well, in 2 weeks actually, we're gonna do a small batch bourbon. And so this weekend, I'll work on blending those 5 barrels and figuring out which ones from our rick house we'll pull to use for it.
So that sounds like a long and strenuous process.
It is.
Is it or no?
Yeah. So I've learned that being the master blender, the whole spit or swallow question now has a whole new meaning.
All right. I gotta put the explicit on this one now. I wasn't gonna do that, Jen. That's gonna be PG, but you just ruined it.
PG. No.
Okay.
Because
So
like
you're
in the industry, it means like when you blend, do you just like swish the whiskey around your mouth and then spit it out, or do you actually swallow it?
Yeah. So what's the other meaning? Because you said now it has another meaning. Yeah. That's what I thought, Jen.
I wasn't gonna go there. We're keeping it PG.
You said you're the one who went there. You're the one who said now it has a different meaning. So now obviously I'm gonna ask, oh, what's the other meaning? You might as well say it now. I'm a spitter, by the way. Just anyways, yeah. So that's actually hilarious. So
oh my gosh.
So are you
one of the times that Kenny like let it spill was when we were in Kansas and the liquor store asked me, they're like, so do you spit or swallow? I was like, what? Like, we're getting personal. They're like, when you're blending. I was like, oh.
Wait, you actually said we're getting personal?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was drinking at this point too. We were all drinking. I mean, we were tasting through the product line. But yeah, I was like, what? I was like, what just happened? And then Kenny was like, whoa, like, let's not go there. And I was like, no, it makes sense.
Well, yeah, because people do that for wine tastings a lot.
Yeah,
they'll sip it and then they'll spit it out, which I think is totally counterproductive and counterintuitive and goes against every law there is.
Yeah.
I don't know what laws go behind that, but that's just
not abuse.
Right. It's not natural. Abuse. Yeah. And so, but do you spit?
No.
Or do you swallow?
Swallow.
Okay. Good answer. Anyways, so by the way, that Who Gives a Dram sweatshirt looks really good. That is a sick sweatshirt. Yeah. That is a sick sweatshirt. And yeah, Instagram bio to buy that shit from me. Let's taste some of the whiskey, Jen, because you sent me bottles that I haven't opened yet. So I want to do them on the podcast.
Awesome.
Live.
All right. Well, let's do single barrel rye, single barrel bourbon, and then we'll do the signature bourbon.
Beautiful, because that's how I got them lined up.
Perfect.
So you tell me what we are tasting through exactly.
All right, so we are tasting the first barrel of our 7-year-old single barrel rye, 103 proof. It's a high rye, 95% rye in the mash bill.
Okay.
We actually have a good relationship with the farmer that grows our rye grain. And so when we distill our rye whiskey, we test the moisture level within the grain so you don't get a harsh, like wet grass flavor with the rye. It's more sweeter.
Yeah, it's definitely sweeter. It's light. It's like a light sweetness, nothing overpowering. It's nothing dark like a burnt, like a sugar, like a brown sugar, or anything like that. It's more like candied fruit is what I get.
Yeah.
I get on your, and I think I got this on the last rise we did on Bourbon with Friends. I get a lot of like dill in your rise as well.
Yeah.
Do you agree or disagree? Because whatever you say is the correct answer because you're the person.
So I get dill. Kenny is like, no, not at all. But I'm like, he's thinking like pickles. I'm like, no, like the actual like herb, not when it's like made into a pickle.
He's talking about the dill sunflower seeds.
Yeah.
But it does have a more sweetness on it than a lot of other ryes on the nose, at least. It's nice. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Not much else I'm getting on the nose though. Like it's definitely sweeter. That's really the main takeaway with that dill on the back end of the nose, and that's really it. Nothing whole. It doesn't need anything else. It's a rye.
No.
You don't need to try to get too fancy with it. There's some advice for you, by the way.
Actually drinking out of a Glencairn tonight.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is official.
I know.
I have to. Was I not drinking out of a Glencairn before?
Not when we've talked before.
Really?
Yeah. You made fun of me because I was.
Did I really?
Yeah.
Well, maybe. No, I definitely was drinking out of a Glencairn. Are you talking about when we did the podcast?
No, not when we did the podcast.
Oh, when we FaceTimed?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's because I'm not tasting. I'm just drinking. If I'm tasting, I'm a professional. I gotta use my sniffer in my mouth correctly. I like the palate though. What are we getting?
So I don't know about you, but like I get a buttery flavor. And there's like all spice, so like your baking spices, your cinnamon, brown sugar, like all those, and then a very slight rye back end burn, but nothing like punch you in your face.
No. There's nothing that punches you in your face. But I think there's a heavy rye influence on this. Like it's very almost like grainy.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first thing that comes to my mind is like sourdough bread is what I get with some more of that dill. I don't get as much sweetness on the palate though. Like I get some that's there, but it's not the main factor like it is on the nose.
No, it's sweet up front with the nose, and then as you taste it, you get more of that rye aspect. Could
you crush a whole bottle of this in one night?
I have before.
I'm sure you have. Yeah, this is good. I mean, ryes just aren't up my alley necessarily. They like, to me, this has a bit of like the back end of it is just not my favorite just because it's rye, but it tastes like how a rye, like a good to great rye should taste.
Yeah.
It's just not up my alley per se. Like I would rather have a bourbon. So it's good though. I don't want to rate it, but I would definitely recommend it. It's definitely crushable because it's not drinking like 103 proof.
103. And I find like most of our stuff actually, as you drink it, it drinks smoother than what it is for some reason, which is why you can kill a bottle in a night.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. No. I think it's a good thing, but
depends if you have work the next day.
Yeah, well, most of the time I do. I do.
Too.
Did I tell you about a few weeks ago when I started Lucifer? Did I tell you that story?
Yeah.
I did
when you called in that one, or no?
Wait, called into what?
Like you called off of work.
No, I went into work, but it was like a random weekday night, and I started Lucifer, and I had like what was gonna be one glass of whiskey. Hank can bark. Let him bark. It's fine.
No, he's fine.
And it turned into like 4 or 5 glasses of whiskey. It was a rough night, and I'm old.
I've had a home.
I'm 25.
You're not okay. Yeah, you're not that old.
I'm 25.
Don't say you're old, because then I'm gonna be old in a couple months, and no, that's not the case.
You're old.
No, I'm not.
Are you the youngest master blender in the history of master blending?
24 years old.
Well, you didn't have to say your age, but I mean, I think you might be the youngest in the history.
Yeah.
The youngest official master blender here on Who Gives a Dram. What an honor. What an honor, Jen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My first official day has the master blender too.
Yeah, I know. That's why I had to get the exclusive. All right, let's taste through this bourbon because I really like the nose on this. It's way more up my alley. Bit more of that like I get a bit more actually a baking spice on this than I do on the rye. I get like a is it peppermint? I'm getting some type of something weird.
I wouldn't.
Is it not? Maybe it's not peppermint. It's sweet. It's like a. What am I getting, Jen? What am I getting? Tell me.
I see how you're getting the mint. We've actually had a few people recently tell us mint on the bourbon. But with this one, I mean, I get like that pear green apple aspect with it, kind of like a baked green apple with your like baking spices, like you're gonna bake.
I can see like green apple with like honey drizzled over it.
Yeah.
I get cherry as well. There's definitely cherry on this. But it's like man, it's vanilla. There's vanilla, there's a lot of vanilla. Maybe it's like vanilla extract. Maybe it's like a really, really potent vanilla. Because sometimes like if something's really potent, it almost smells spicy.
Like homemade vanilla extract, not like the store-bought stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. A little bit of oaks on there as well. Nothing too heavy. I mean, these are 7 years, right? So you would expect it to have a little bit of. Oh, this is bottle number 211 of 211, by the way.
Yeah.
The one that you sent me. Did you do that on purpose?
It was the one that I grabbed, and then I grabbed it. I was like, oh, that's fun.
And then it's barrel number 1. So
yeah,
kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Kind of a big deal. Yeah. I like the nose on this a lot. It's different than a typical bourbon. There's no rye on it whatsoever.
No.
What's the mash bill in this?
So it's funny that you say that because it's 74% corn, 21% rye, 5% malted barley.
There is no rye on the nose at all. Not even a iota. I get like minty vanilla with like green apples. Maybe red apples. What's the difference between a green apple and a red apple?
Green apple is like more
like tart, right?
Yeah, tart. And red apples are sweeter. Yeah.
Yeah, because this is like a little bit tartar. All right, I'm gonna drink it. What do you think?
I like it. So I typically go more rye than I go like bourbon. But like this is actually like a really nice rye. It is a little too sweet for me almost, but so for me, I do get some of the rye spice on the taste, but not crazy. It has a really nice mouthfeel. And it actually like lingers around for a while, which is nice too. Because for me, like the reason why I drink so much some nights is because the flavor doesn't linger. So I'm like, oh, I gotta take another sip to like taste it, and then
solid cork bomb. I agree with you, and I disagree with you. I don't get much more rye spice on this one, but I get something on there. It's almost like I still have that dill pickle taste, but lots of dark cherry. It tastes like a dark cherry, like dark cherry without the sweetness in it.
Yeah.
Or black cherry without the sweetness in it. Like it's very dark,
like a dark tart cherry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're picking up one.
We get them in Michigan. Yeah. That's
really?
actually like in the summertime. Oh yeah. Cherries are actually in the Traverse City area, like huge. They do a cherry festival and everything.
Wow. I did not know that. Learned something here today.
Yeah.
I say this is very dark cherry forward. I don't even know if there's a whole lot of sweetness on it. It's very tart is a good word for this.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a bad way. People might think that's
No.
bad, but I don't necessarily think it's bad. What do these bottles retail for?
$60.
60?
Mm-hmm.
For a 7-year age stated?
Yeah.
It's not bad. That's about what I would expect it to be, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And the beautiful thing about you guys is your bottles are fucking tight. They're awesome.
They are actually trademark. And so they're custom bottles. During like the 4 years that we were waiting for stock to come of age before we actually like released our small batch bourbon, we worked on our bottle design and hired an outside company called Flow Design, and they designed our packaging for us.
Yeah, this is a top bottle in the game. And honestly, everybody that I've given this to says the same thing. Like, dude, this is a top bottle in the game for real. This is I'd argue top 5 bottle. I really like these bottles a lot.
And our like lineup, so the best way to describe it is they're like a family of bottles. They're not siblings, they're cousins. So they have like some of the same features, so you can tell that they're related, but they're not exactly the same. For when you go from like our small batch to our single barrel to our signature to our then Gianna Loren bottles, they're all slightly different.
So these two single barrel 7 years are similar. They're much more similar than I thought they were going to be, but they're both good. I enjoy them both. I feel like this bourbon would be good in an old fashioned. It's got that tartness that I think would mix well with like the brown sugar and everything like that. So they're both very good. I like them a lot, but I'm very curious to try the signature 113 proof that I just cracked open as well. Hank is excited as well.
He is. He's like, this is the best one.
So this is a 6-year. I'm on barrel number 13, bottle number 168 of 183. What's the mash bill on this?
51% corn, bare minimum, 49% smoked malted barley, and we don't use peat moss. So Francesco, he really enjoys Scotch whiskey, and he wanted to make a bourbon as close to a Scotch as he could. So by doing the 51% corn, bare minimum to be a bourbon, and then that 49% smoked malted barley gives it the Scotchy aspect.
All right. I'm excited to try this one then. You are right up my alley right now. Let's see. I got a little nervous when you said 51% corn, and then you said 49. I was like, are you going to say 49 rye? Am I not going to like this?
No. And we use so Francesco, he also really enjoys to smoke meat. And so we took one of his favorite wood steels to smoke meat to smoke the barley.
Interesting. So what is that? What's the process behind
that? So we get our barley in, and then it's malted.
Did you just hit Hank?
No, I grabbed his rope.
Oh, I thought you hit him.
No. So we get our barley in from our farmers, and what we do is before we distill our product, we take that grain, and through that drying process is when we smoke it.
Okay. So what should I be picking up on the nose right now? Because I'm getting a very distinct note, and I want the master blender to tell me if this is something I should be getting.
Are you getting cherry?
A little bit, but something way more than cherry. Hank is just manhandling you right now. You gotta do some tricep extensions or some tricep pushdowns. You gotta get those triceps. That's what you're lacking right now.
I am, yeah. So the nose and taste, you get two different things like more prominently.
Mm-hmm. So let me tell you what I'm getting on the nose. Very, very heavy. I'm getting a boatload of leather on the nose, like very prominent.
Yeah.
Lots of like that dark suede leather type of deal. Cherry's on there. Is that what I'm supposed to be getting?
if you get cherry, it makes sense because of our process, but I can't say what our process is.
Oh, you can't drop that bomb on us on this episode too. That's gotta stay in the holster.
Yeah.
You tell me you can't tell the Luca Mariano secrets here? Come on. No one's listening. It's just me and you.
And then when you release it, there's people listening. Maybe
Really?
a few more I would have fell into that trap, but not yet.
If you fell into that trap, I would have been concerned for you, Jen. I get a lot of leather cherry on the nose. Oak is very prominent on the nose as well.
And for our barrels, we actually char them to char number 4. And before they're assembled, they're seasoned in the Kentucky weather for 18 months. Independent Stave is doing all of our barrels.
So the staves are seasoned for 18 months and then they're put together and then they're charred. What's the char number 4?
4. So it goes through about 55 seconds of being put on fire, essentially.
Okay. Interesting. I wasn't sure what the number was.
Yeah. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And they're just different stages of being on fire before that fire gets sprayed out with water. And the char number 4 is when you get that alligator skin.
Right. The infamous alligator skin. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to drink this now. What am I supposed to be getting?
Cherry. But it has like a really interesting mouthfeel.
Why did it take you so long to say that?
There's a reason why you get so much cherry in this.
Is it cherry wood or something? Did you put cherries in the barrels?
There's no cherries in the barrels.
It's cherry wood. Okay. It's from cherry trees.
I didn't say it. You said it. So it's okay.
It's
another exclusive.
You didn't make it very difficult for me. You kind of gave me the eyes like, don't say it, but this is.
You said it.
Yeah, so I do get cherry vanilla Coke.
But there's like a smoky aspect to it as well, just from like that smoking process, and then also the char level. But like this, so when people like talk about a leather mouthfeel, it's like the thickness of the whiskey, like obviously it's the same like as a single barrel bourbon. It's not any thicker, but the way that it tastes is thicker. Like how it lingers around and everything. I don't know. That's just me though.
So what kind of smoke am I supposed to be getting? Because I don't get a whole lot of smoky anything. I'm an Isla Scotch guy, so I'm used to like that type of smoke. What exactly?
So the peat moss smoke is completely different than a cooking wood smoke. So this is going to be like a sweeter smoke where it's not. So I'm not big in the Scotch whiskey. Like, can't drink it. I've tried different things.
When you get older, you will.
Oh, in 2 months when I'm 25?
Yeah, when you're my age, you will.
So in 2 months, I don't think it will change that much.
You never know, man. You never know what life's gonna throw at you. That's some wisdom from me.
Okay.
Being the older gentleman that I am. Live every day like your last. I said that a few years ago. Coined that phrase.
So
sorry.
I did completely off track. I did a world of whiskeys of the world tasting, like, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago. And there was Scotch, there was Irish whiskey, there was one rum, like Texas, Kentucky bourbon, like it was all different things. And I had to turn my video camera off because anytime I would do a Scotch, like I would end up coughing. Like I couldn't deal with that kind of smoke level. This is like a lighter, like your neighbor 2 doors down is having a bonfire smoke. Is the best way I can explain it.
Yeah, it's got a darker aspect to it. So like it's almost like you got that black cherry, that tart black cherry, but now it's not as tart. It's a bit sweeter. Yeah. But there is a lot more oak and vanilla on this one. And this is my favorite of the 3 by far. This is something
I can see that.
Which ones have you won awards for?
So we haven't submitted the signature. Well, we have submitted the signature. We haven't got the rewards back yet for that. But the single barrel rye and single barrel bourbon last October, we submitted those when they were a 6-year-old product. And they both received double gold in the John Barleycorn Awards competition, which to get that high of a level, you have to score between 95 and 100 points on a blind tasting. Now, our signature is completely different than both of those. We should be getting our results back from a couple competitions here in a few weeks. So it'll be interesting to see how that one does.
This is the signature is where it's at. What would this bottle retail for?
So that is $70. It's 113 proof.
Really?
So every year that product goes up 1 year. It's a limited release. We do it for the anniversary of Prohibition. And what we're going to do in our gift shop is we reserve the first 12 cases of the best barrel that we bottle first for this product. And we will release bottles 1 through 72 of every year has a whole set that you can buy.
Okay. That's
a
little bit too much math for me. Please dumb it down a little bit.
So Prohibition went on for 14 years. Okay. So you can get the signature bourbon from when we first released it. It was a 4-year-old product. Okay. And we take the first 72 bottles of the first barrel. So we go through and taste which barrels we want to release that year. And our favorite one we release has the first one. So then we take 72 bottles, we put them in storage. We pay our taxes and everything on them, and then we put them in storage. And what we do is at the end of the Prohibition years, so we started it at the 100th anniversary of Prohibition. So at the end of the 14 years, if you want, you can buy every bottle number 1 from the 14 different releases, or bottle 2, like. Okay. Yeah. So you can get 14 bottle 1s of the signature, 14 bottle 50s.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So we're going to have a few fun things in our rick house. Well, like with the gift shop, because all of our rick house is named after different people. So at different times, you can come in and to the gift shop and you'll be able to get a select barrel like from that rick house, and it'll say the Dan Campbell Rick House, Big Earl, Matt Froberger, Kenny Fuller, myself. Mine will be a rye. Yeah, mine will be a rye though. So if you like rye whiskey, look for that.
Yeah, you're a big rye girl, huh? You're all about that rye.
Kenny calls me the rye queen. I like the spice.
So what else? So, okay. I was going to ask something. I feel like Hank wants us to go. I feel like Hank's getting pissed off.
No, Hank is fine right now.
What,
We're playing tug of war. We're good.
I can tell because he's yanking you.
Hank is also like half the size of me, so.
Hank's a big boy.
He is.
Hank's a big boy. So
what, way bigger than what he was supposed to be.
What exactly is this, the ribbon cutting that's going to be last weekend at this point, probably, because I'm cutting the releases in 2 weeks. So the ribbon cutting, how did that go? Because this is in the future. So how did the ribbon cutting go?
The ribbon cutting went amazing. Okay. We drank a lot of whiskey, obviously. It's for the Dan Campbell Rick House, who we also call Dan the Landman. This rick house is 31 ricks long. And it's built like a cake, like a wedding cake is the best way to explain it. So it's tiered. Our first 3 floors are 13 barrels on each side. And then floor 4, 5, and 6 is 7 on each side. And then the 7th floor, so to say, is an attic space. And our rick house actually has windows all the way up that we control from our phones based upon the temperature in the rick house, when to open those like fully open when to shut them based upon like what the temperature in the rick house is reading to get consistent age on those barrels.
Interesting. So that's pretty technologically advanced.
Yeah. And so we have our own like in-house IT. And so Justin actually created a program where I can log in on my phone and say, let's say I have like a barrel pick in the house and I tasted a couple barrels before. I can like favorite them on my phone and I can take the group to those barrels and like pull a sample out of them. So I can know like, oh, barrel that's in Rick 24, floor 3, row, whatever. That one I really liked. So let's take them to that and pull a sample. But also then I can see like any new barrels that go in because we pulled a barrel out from there. So there's like a lot of technology that goes into it.
So Jenn, thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. I'm sure you'll come on again. This was like, when I say this was last minute, this was about as last minute as it gets.
I was at the nail salon and you text me. You're like, let's do a podcast in an hour.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, you should have your mic on you at all times. So that shouldn't have been an issue. That's on you. That's on you. But Jenn, tell people where to find you, to find the brand, where to buy the bottles. Tell people all that good stuff.
Yeah, you can buy bottles in the states of Michigan, Kentucky, Tennessee, Indiana, Florida, Washington, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, North Carolina. We're expanding into Illinois, Minnesota, Wisconsin. And then if you're not in any of those states, you can go online to Woods Wholesale Wine and buy bottles online to ship to your house. You can also find us online at Luca Mariano Distillery. We have a website which also links you to our social media where you can buy bottles online and everything. And then if you go to Luca Mariano Instagram or Facebook, I'm all over on it.
Yeah, you are the person that they post the most. That's for sure. Yeah. Why come they don't post Kenny?
Because Kenny's awkward in photos. Like, he's such a nice guy, but when he takes photos, he's so awkward.
Come on, don't hate on Kenny. Kenny's gonna listen to this, and you guys are gonna get into a fight or something like that. Don't do that.
I tell him in person.
I don't agree with Jenn here, Kenny. I want that on the record here. I don't agree.
He admits it. He's like, I'm so awkward in photos.
I don't agree.
Yeah, I know you are.
Everyone's gonna say that themselves are awkward. Everyone's going to say that, but I don't agree with them because as an outsider looking in, I think he looks fine.
He's a really cool guy and everything. Don't get me wrong. And
yeah, I'm not saying you think he's an asshole or something like that.
And so like on podcasts, like he's a total different person than when you put like a photo to take like a camera in front of him to take a photo. Like he changes and I'm like, you got to stop this. I'm just going to have to like do candids of him.
Candids, hey, candids sometimes are the best ones.
Yeah.
But I just wanted on record that I disagree with you, and I disagree with Kenny. But any person, like I think I look awkward in photos, and everybody else thinks, it's like so. Everyone that's just your own looking into yourself. Everyone feels that way. But yeah. So thanks again, Jenn, for coming on. Yeah. Thank you for the whiskey.
All the exclusive information.
I know. This is awesome. Well, it's not going to be exclusive when it comes out, but it'll be.
No, majority of it still will be.
No, the exclusive information was about the Rick House information, correct? Mm-hmm. And which will be out by this time in 2 weeks. And you're the master blender.
You have the Gianna Loren information, that's single barrel rye.
True.
You have the opening date of the distillery operations.
That's going to be out by the time this podcast comes out.
No, it won't.
Not? Oh, no. Okay. I thought it was. I thought you said it was going to be. Oh, well, look at that, everybody.
Yeah, you have the exclusive information.
Exclusive information. You're wearing the merch. Merch looks sick.
Bonfire.com. Connor's Instagram bio. Or who gives a dram.
Instagram bio. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
it's also your Instagram too, though.
Well, I got like a personal Instagram. It's not my Instagram, but yes, it is my Instagram.
You run it.
Yes, I do run it. I am my own I am my own master blender. Let's put it that way. But thank you everybody for tuning in. This was a fun episode, just something kind of just random, but I'm glad we had Jenn on. Jenn's a good friend, and I'm very happy for you, Jenn, for your new promotion and your new role at Luca Mariano. I will always support Luca Mariano. I think your products are great. And all you got to do is text me if you guys need to come into the Northeast. I told you how many cases I've already sold.
Okay. So I've looked into a couple distributors. I didn't want to drop it, but also with my new role, our whole case sales bet is like off.
So I win.
I think I win. I ended with a barrel pick. You had 6 and I had 30.
Yeah, but that also was like we were supposed to go for a longer time. So if you're quitting, then I win.
I'm not quitting. I got a new role.
Sounds like you're quitting. But anyways, okay. We can argue more about this off camera. Thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next week. And always remember, whiskey's the water of life. So let's start.